We live. Peace to the family out there. This is Brother Dooley. You know, excuse me. Did some rapping, sacred tobacco medicine. Going live because I haven't been live for a while, and I wanted to update some people. Just let the family know what's actually been happening, where my travels been, and all the wonderful type of things I've been coming up. So first, I would like to share a mantra with the family. Um, this mantra was important, especially at this last healing I did. So it's Guru Padma Sambhava mantra. Guru Padma Sambhava was a realized enlightened being from India who brought the teachings of Mahayana Vajrayana Buddhism to Tibet. And it goes a little like this. And he also attained what we call the rainbow body technique, where literally you turn a person or a being would turn their body into light, um, avoiding or going beyond what we call the death process. Okay. So, and there's been over 200,000 documented cases of eyewitnesses seeing this phenomena that they call the rainbow body in Tibet. But his mantra goes, Ahom Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om. Yes. Mahaguru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Ahom Vajra Padma Siddhi Om. Yo, I just want to say peace to the family once again. I want to throw another one at y'all real quick. The Medicine Buddha. Let's see. Dayata, Dayata, Raze. So the Medicine Buddha. Medicine Buddha deals with the level of healing. It's a great energy to work with if you're dealing with a level of healing work with people. Just try to put that back. Dayata, Bekaze, Maha Bekaze, Raza Somagate, Soha. Dayata, Bekaze, Maha Bekaze, Raza Somagate, Soha. Okay? So let's go right in. All right? Because I'm not going to waste no time. Also, I have a friend that's coming by. So I have to, around that time, get off of this live so I could continue with my day and do what I have to do. But thank you for the listeners. Chi Fi says, good day, Dooley. Thank you. Peace. Also, Vet says, peace and blessings, Brother Dooley. Peace. Peace to y'all. I'm going to just pick up on some things that have been happening lately. All right. First and foremost, I'm just gonna be talking about extraterrestrial origins, and I would like to give a big shout out to my homeboy, my good people's Dr. Aleem El Bey. He had me and my good friend Riziki do some healing work with the family out there in North Carolina. I've been reading his book. You know, it's a good book. It's a lot of good information in there. Dr. Lean will come through to do some medicine work for his peoples and the community out there, and also um, we was there was sweat lodge, and I didn't get a chance to do the sweat lodge because I was so busy up there doing healing work with folks. So someone says here, do you still go to New York? Yes, I do. I'm probably will be going to New York. Man, yeah, I know I'm supposed to go back to North Carolina for Kriya Yoga initiation and doing some work down there in April. So probably probably first, second week of April, I might be heading down to New York because there's a couple of clients out there that want me to do some work out there with them. But yeah, essentially to your question, yeah, I do go to New York. I was going there on a weekly basis at one point to Brooklyn to do work out there with the family. But I just been really busy, so I'm not able to go to New York every week or like I used to. But yeah, I'll be going there soon. I was in North Carolina. I was in Henderson, and Dr. Leem. I've known Dr. Leem for some time now. Him and his wife have come to Boston plenty of times. We've worked together, and I've done sacred medicine with Dr. Leem. And he wanted to bring that my healing work to his community out there. So long story short, before I even start with that, and why I wanted to talk about this subject was that I had a young man a client that came by to see me, and his mother, I had a friend of mine that referred him to me, and he told reached out to this young man's mother to see if her son could come see me. Long story short, this young man was going to be committed to the mental institution, right? And the mother explained to me basically what was going on with what she was perceiving with her son. Long story short, her son comes to see me. And I've been getting a lot of clients that are kind of vibrating on this type of level, especially a lot of younger people, where they're coming back with full blown memory, of their past lives, of their previous incarnations. Some of these individuals have remembered when they were quote unquote came in other bodies or would be deemed as alien, right? So this was one of these cases. And this young man, I think he was like 17, I think he's 17, 18, something like that. And he remembered being on another planet. He remembered the great war that we had in space. Um, and it freaked out, of course, some of his family members because they had no reference point, with how to go about that with this young man. So when he sat down with me, he felt very much at home. And he was like, he felt very grateful that he had another person that he could talk to about this type of thing. At that point, he felt like he wasn't alone, you know. And big up to one of the brothers that was in North Carolina, man. This dude was a giant, big brother. He was doing combo frog medicine the whole weekend, and he said the same thing. And I'm seeing how important community is, especially for people that are beginning on the path, because it could seem like a very lonely path sometimes. All right. So the brother the big giant brother in North Carolina, he said the same thing. He's like, man, thank you, Dooley, for just sharing a lot of your experiences with us, because I had some of these experiences. I was telling him about many things, but one thing I did tell him was when I was in Mount Shasta in California, how I worked on this Native American elder, and how a very tall blue extraterrestrial came through me. She was female. She was about 10 feet tall. You know what I mean? Yep, around 10 feet tall. And very slender, very long ligaments, very long fingers, um, black eyes, very long face, blue skin. All right. Um, in later research, I realized that doing my own research, I realized this was a being from the Arctarius. She was Arctarian, you know. And if you do any type of research around the Arctarians, you see that they're very scientific type of beings, the scientists of the cosmos, um, which was very true with my experience with her, because he had this particular Native American elder had issues with his heart, you know, the rhythm of his heart was off. So she was able to, while she was working with me, um, she put a holographic device in his heart, a very high technology. We're talking about very high technology type of beings. All right. Um, First, let me put this quote here before I even go into that real quick. Just to throw out some facts for y'all, so you could see the bigger picture here. All right. And I'm gonna quote from Dr. Aleem's book on this right here. Um, let me see here. I just highlighted just some facts along how they see our cosmos, how modern day scientists see our cosmos. Um, Says here, chapter 4, do extraterrestrial beings exist? It says here in Dr. Leem's book here, he says, man believes he is alone in the cosmos. Even scientifically is not likely. Just do the numbers. Several hundred billion stars in our galaxy. Several hundred billion stars in our galaxy. Okay? Hundreds of billions of galaxies in the observable universe. Okay? Hundreds of billions of galaxies in the observable universe. Okay? And 150 planets spied already in the immediate neighborhood of the sun. So they're talking about, we're talking about, come on now. A person would have to live in a place of ignorance to really think that we're the only living species out in the cosmos. You know, that that itself right there, is interesting. But when you look at modern day science, and this is what even in Dr. Leem's book he was saying here, is that it takes so long for, if we're talking about space travel, even if we're talking about the speed of light, right? Um, and I highlighted that over here, like hold on, may read this too. They said there are over 200 Earth-like planets beyond our solar system. These are things that we can see with our own technology. You know what I mean? Um, so again, we're talking about, one thing is that the speed of light. So a lot of scientists said, well, for aliens to be in contact with us, it'll be so long them to get to one place to the next because of the long distance. Um, but as we go further into these studies, we will understand that when we look at different type of civilizations, and Dr. Aleem, it quotes this physicist and futurist, Dr. Kaku, and he says, Dr. Kaku says he breaks down the type of civilizations, type zero, which he would consider our civilization of human beings on this planet, a type 0 civilization, which taps in planetary resources as solar power, geothermal power, and wind power, right? Most of our power is generated is based on non-renewable fossil fuel resources. For example, oil, coal, and natural gases. So basically, what this scientist is saying is that we're Johnny come latelys, according to where we are at on an evolutionary scale. Um, uh, in comparison to these different other type of extraterrestrials that are type 1 civilization, type 2, and type 3 civilization. And when you look at type 1, for example, they would say that type 1 would be a civilization or intelligent life form that uses the entire resources of their planet. They can predict weather patterns, earthquakes, and very accurately, and even control them artificially induce greenhouse effects. That's just civilized type 1 civilization. They say civilization 2 is has extended their power to their entire solar system by harnessing the power of their suns through, so they're talking about harnessing actually sun. Now, type 3 would be civilizations that span entire galaxies, having colonized all the stars by a wave after wave of in stellar craft. They harness the power of galaxies. Okay? Astrophysicists theorize that this may be done by exploiting the fact that black holes can be used as a source of energy as they, okay. So boom. So now you're talking about again, and I'm reading that to let people know that one, when we look at modern day scientists and say, well, the possibility of having contact with extraterrestrials is very slim because of how many light years it would take to travel to our solar system, right? But then we could talk about the observable Earth-like planets that are on the outside of our solar system, not that far from us. And then we could also talk about type 2, type 3 civilizations that utilize black holes for their level of star travel. And also when we look at the conversation of the macabre or the light body, even me starting off this video with the Padma Sambhava chant, which he achieved the light or rainbow body. All right. So different ways according to the mindset and the evolution of beings of how they travel, how they come to different planets, all kinds of things. We first have to take that under consideration. And knowing that there are older civilizations, these beings are highly advanced in their level of technology. All right. And that goes into the blue being that I was talking about. When she put a holographic type of technology, an advanced level of what we would call maybe a pacemaker into this Native American's heart as she's working through me. This man came back to the doctors and his heart rhythm was back normal. Okay. So I'm just throwing that out there, even that experience. And I brought that experience up because of the brother, I think his name was Barbarian or something like that. I forget, I'm getting his name. Excuse me, bro, if you see this video, but I'll call him my giant brother. You know what I mean? Really good dude. And he was saying, like, Dooley, some of the things that you shared with the community, thank you. Because I've had these experiences as well, not as like mine, but he was saying how he's had very lucid dreams of dealing with blue type of beings or the Arcturians and different type of messages that he even got in his very lucid dreams, and that he didn't really have anyone to really talk to about these things. Okay. And that's why I share. That's why there's this importance of having these experiences and sharing these experiences so people could have a reference point or have a knowing that, wow, I'm not the only one experiencing these type of things. Okay. um yeah. So the thing that I find very interesting is that when I was in North Carolina, there was a couple of different healing sessions that were amazing. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Riziki, my homegirl right here. Good sister. She wrote this book right here. She's a tantrika. You know what I mean? Her name is Riziki. You know what I mean? The name of this book is Ankh Hura Tantra, and the Afro Indigenous Tantra rooted in the Afro Indigenous wisdom. This is my good friend's book. Definitely check her book out. And she's been on the road with me. You know what I mean? She's been on the road with me, assisting me with these healings, what I would call psychic surgery, which she says, Dooley, you need to change the name of that particular modality that you're doing for people because it's much more than psychic surgery, which I agree with her. These sessions are much more than it because when people hear the word surgery, they're like, oh, wow, well, Dooley's operating on a person in some likely manner, which is true. Sometimes these sessions, they come through removal of certain entities, certain things that have to be realigned, all kinds of stuff. Like the example of the Native American brother and the Arcturian type of being working through me for his heart. But then these sessions are much more than that. These sessions are time traveling experiences. These sessions are connecting with people's ancestral line, changing the DNA, having levels of upgrades and all kinds of things. So I am trying to work on a new, I don't know, a new name for these sessions. But for many years, I was doing these sessions alone. And these sessions were still powerful by myself, but you know, when I linked up with Riziki, it was amazing because now you have the masculine and the feminine energy working on a client at one time. And there's things that she picks up that I might not pick up, or vice versa, or things that I'm picking up that she might not pick up in a session. It's a beautiful dance that happens. And usually, most of the time, what's been going on, because she's been doing her form of healing work before she came to me, but I seen something in her. I was like, listen, you with these tantric healing sessions that you're doing, you need to add on. Well, she already was working with plant medicine. She was working with the late Chief Nighthawk. You know what I mean, Brother Tellis from Georgia. Man, give a picture of him. Big up to him. You know, and he came through this weekend. Even also Baba Kalindi. Big up to Brother Chief Nighthawk. And I would always, refer people to him that were in that area that wanted to sit with Mama Ayahuasca or some of the medicines. He was a really stand-up dude and he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? Not that many people I give reference to say, hey, if you into this or want to experience this, go check him. But he was standing on all his 10 toes, and was really about that life. And he's an ancestor now, and but that's who Riziki initially was working with in regard to her journey with the plant medicine. We've crossed paths, and then I realized that I said to her, your next medicine that you might want to work with is Shunga. It's going to take your healing abilities with what you're doing to the next level. Uh, oh yeah, someone says, "What go on, brother Dooley?" El Ray in the place, peace. What go on? You know. So the thing is that when we started working together, these sessions got amplified to the next level again, because again, now you're dealing with the divine masculine feminine archetypes. All right. And as she's going through Riziki, as she's learning how to navigate with the Shanga, and for those who don't know what Shanga is, it's one of my main medicines. I work with many shamanic or medicines or technologies, natural technologies, but one of my main ones right now, at least in the journey in my life, is Shanga, and Shanga would be considered like smokable ayahuasca. And one of the main, and each shanga is different according to how you make the medicine. You know, a lot of times you might use certain, certain herbs like passion flower, mullein, different, even blue lotus, different ones, and it's mixed with DMT. And those who don't know what DMT is, that's a natural chemical compound that we produce in our body naturally. You know, we produce it out of our pineal gland. Also, there's been scientific studies to show that we produce it in our lungs as well, in our liver. So, in reference to that, you could go look at the book The Spirit Molecule. Also, there's the documentary The Spirit Molecule, should still be on Netflix. But it we produce it naturally. We produce it. It's a connection to DMT with dreaming. There's a connection to DMT when we're being born into this particular third dimension, this reality. There's a connection to DMT when we die, when we get the flood dose, when the whole floodgate comes through at the death process. So there's a connection to DMT in the spirit world. Okay. There's different ways you could produce, again, even DMT naturally. Um, internal exercises such as qigong, nigong, tai chi, kriya yoga, tantra. These are all different avenues and ways to tap into your natural DMT, even dark room therapy, which you would see a lot of different monks and nuns is in the science, in particularly the Eastern philosophies. You would see them in Tibet, especially as another good brother right here, Master Milarepa, who also accomplished the rainbow body. They would utilize the dark cave technology of going into the cave for or total darkness for about 21 days, where the pineal gland is fully activated and produces the natural DMT in our body. So it's in us, but also we have DMT in abundance that grows in nature. In ayahuasca, they use the sacred vine and in also the plant to mix and make the ayahuasca drink, the brew. But in the case of me using shanga, which is smokable ayahuasca, it allows, shanga is much more a scenic route in the spirit world than someone just smoking regular DMT, and a lot of times having a blast off experience going through various realms or dimensions simultaneously, and not really having the reference point of bringing back information, because it's very expansive and a lot of information all at once. All right. Shanga on the other end has a more scenic route in the spirit world, or these different dimensions, which allows you to have more memory, to have more downloads, to have more connections to your ancestors on the side that have deceased, or different spirit guides that you roll with, or different archetypical energies that are a part of you. All right. So that's my main medicine that I work with in regard to these psychic surgeries. So Sister Riziki has been working with that medicine. She's been jumping in the deep end with it. We was walking through it slowly in the beginning, and I was like, you know what, you already know this. It's that memory is gonna come back. We're gonna go right in. So it's been a great compliment to these sessions with working with her, right? Um, okay, El Rey says you've been making some hape blends, some rape or hape. That's very good, man. You know, um, big up to you on that. I love hape. Rape is a very beautiful, beautiful medicine. Shoot, if you want to inbox me and let me know, I need to get on that and start making my own blends too. But it's a great medicine, especially for people that have respiratory issues, asthma, any of them type of issues. It gets all that phlegm and mucus out of your system, and also realigns your energetic system. Very good medicine. So working with Sister Riziki has complemented these sessions very much so. And being in North Carolina, when Dr. Lean invited us down there, um, one of the two sessions I would like to speak upon because it was very powerful was, hold on one second. One of the sessions that was very powerful was this one when we was working with this one particular elder. This one particular elder. And excuse me. Excuse me a second. This particular elder, she just I could tell by just our brief conversation even before we got into the session. She's one of those elders always looking out for people. Doing this for the family, doing this for these friends, doing this, that, and the other, and not really taking time for herself and pouring into her own cup. You know, before we can help out anyone else, we have to work on our own selves, and we have to pour into our own cup. You know, um, the ongoing process of knowing thyself is infinite. It's infinite because we're part of the infinite. So we're always learning about ourselves, but we have to at least have a level of cultivation before we can be able to give to others. Because if we don't, that's where depletion comes. And from the level of depletion, that's where all kinds of problems occur. All right. Um, so we knew, both me and Riziki knew that this session was going to be a session surrounding of pouring into love into this woman. You know, um, So when the sessions start with her with the sister, one thing that was very I found that was very interesting. I'm just gonna highlight some points in her session. One of the things that I found was very interesting was that there was a man that was standing behind Riziki. So she's laying, we have a mattress in the front living area space. She's laying on the mattress after she took the medicine herself, right? Normally, I tell people to take 3 puffs of the medicine to have a breakthrough experience. She only could take one, and she was like, "Oh wow, what is this?" I was like, "Just relax, lay down." And I'm near her head area. So she's laying down. I'm there sitting near her head area. And usually even before I start these sessions, a lot of times there's sacred songs that come through. And each song is different. Each song is different. These are medicine songs. In ayahuasca, they would call them icaros, right? These are certain keys that open up certain dimensions or change even certain a frequency that even brings changes the DNA. You know, a lot of times, even my friend Riziki says it's the clearing process first, which I agree. It's the clearing process, and then it's the imprint afterwards. So when a person has to leave their baggage first, so they could be able to make room for new knowledge and understanding to come through, new information to come through. All right. So the songs play an important part, on many different levels. And again, I do not know what song will come through. Each person that I work with is an individual song. The rhythm sometimes might be some familiar, you know, because there's certain songs that come through on an ancestral level as well, you know. but the language usually is different. And sometimes I do not know what language I'm speaking, but at the same time, if we had like a switch in our brain, you know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Like they have these apps on our phone that if we download the app and we're in another country and we can't speak that country's language or whatever, there's an app, you know, you put on there as a translating app, right? So you type it in, whatever, or you could speak it, and then it says on the other end, blah, 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 I'm looking for food. Boom, 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 boom. It's going to say I'm looking for food in that person's language on the app, on the phone or whatever, right? That's the same thing when you start accessing higher aspects of yourself. There's a part of you that could switch on and say, okay, you're speaking this other language or you're hearing this other language, but there's this switch on switch in your brain or wherever where you could be like, actually understand what it's saying. So when these songs come through, I might not have the reference point because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of clearing, there's a lot of information coming through at that particular time. I might not know the region at the moment or the country or even the particular planet this language might come from. But then there's still the translation, if that makes sense. So as I'm speaking the language, there's still this telepathic download that's coming through as I'm speaking the language and says, okay, this is a song, as the song's coming through, this is a song being translated as the song of forgiveness or the song of remembrance or the song of power. You know what I mean? And these are keys. Okay. This is so interesting. Sometimes I just got to take a breath, and maybe y'all should too. There's moments where we just got to, and I'm still being mindful that my friend, I have a appointment at a certain time. So there's a part of me like, this, try to get in before, you know, this whole time. Well, hold on, may take that back. Let's slow down time for a second. And there's civilizations that know that science too. That's going in like the 11th. We're talking about 10th, 11th dimension when we talk about that type of stuff. But that's keyed into the breath. So let's take a breath. Let's breathe in. Let's hold our breath for a second. And exhale. And make sure you're doing that abdominal breathing. Now, let's use the whole chi. Let's use the whole lung capacity. That's Qigong breathing. And then you hold your breath. And then you exhale. The breath brings you into different theta waves, different brain waves. You know what I mean? It changes your whole joint. So we have to remember the breath. Okay? So back to the language. Usually in the beginning of these sessions, there's the songs that come through. And the songs, again, are not just only keys, but they're grounding tools as well. They're like an anchoring. So a lot of people, if they never had an outer body experience or astral experience, or like even sometimes people who've had near-death experiences and they could see themselves outside their body, right? That could be shocking for some people who've never had that experience before. Or even if people still had these experiences, sometimes we're so ingrained, so immersed in this physical reality, this third dimension, anything outside of that context can be scary for some people because it's different. And anything that's different or new can be very scary or intimidating for most people, right? So the songs are the grounding tool. It's the anchor. It's the level of them, the person, the client still being able to hear the song. So they're still anchored. They still know they're still here. But yet as their eyes are closed, they can't deny that they're experiencing other phenomena. Okay? So usually it starts with the song. Then towards There's other parts of the session where if I'm called to play certain musical instruments, certain crystals to be used as an aid for clearing, downloading, all kinds of things. I'm basically most sessions go about this type of order, right? But then there's all kinds of different sessions and all kind of people. Things can turn ugly sometimes into the level of exorcism type of things, all kinds of stuff. So think these sessions can be very different, all right, for each individual. But for this elder, that got to a point after the sacred songs that were coming through. No, excuse me, may rewind. As the songs were coming through, there was a man that was standing there, Riziki. He gave off of energy, a very playful jokester type of energy, right? He wasn't that tall. He had to be about five, probably about 5'11", 5'12", about almost 6 feet. Slender, brown skinned man, and had short haircut. Looked like maybe kind of even like a fade, right? At first, because I'm going through, I'm going through the songs and all that, and I open my eyes for a second. And the next thing I know, I see him standing right near Riziki, and Riziki's sitting on the couch on the other side of me, right? Um, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, is this issue of this Legba? You know what I mean? If we were even dealing with the Orisha type of science, or the Yoruba science, you know what I mean? Ifa. I was like, but then I didn't get them vibes. I was like, nah, this is not a deity or some type of intelligence of that magnitude. Um, this is ancestor vibes. So so he's talking to me now telepathically, and he's like, tell her I'm in the room, you know. So normally I don't do this, but then he says it again. You know what I mean? So it's like he's letting me know, no, stop what you're doing right now. It's important that you let her know that I'm in the room. All right. So I stopped the song right there. And I'm like, even in the middle of it, I'm like, I normally don't do this, but there's this man that's standing right next to Riziki. He has ancestor vibes. He has a very playful energy about him, jokester type of energy about him. I'm getting uncle vibes. She's still in the medicine. She's closed. She's her eyes are closed. This is even before she lays down. She's sitting in lotus position, right? So she's in her meditation position, and all of us see is a smile come over her face, and tears start to come down her eye, right? So I'm already knowing she knows who I'm talking about, or if not, can feel his presence or what have you in the room, right? So after that happens, he kind of, dude, that her uncle, he fades away, and I realize that's her uncle because after the sessions are over, the client, we have integration. So I'm talking about what I've seen. Riziki's talking about what she's seen and experienced. The client is him or her is talking about what she has experienced, right? So I'm going back and forth. So I knew it was her uncle because at the integration I described, she's like, "Yep, that's my uncle, so and so." Boom, 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 and all the other beings and stuff, spirits that come into the room, it's confirmed. Everything I'm seeing, she confirmed it as well. It was crazy. Her session was crazy. Um, but what's crazy was that after the uncle left, um, I start going back into the language again, into the song again, right? And next thing I know, the spirit of it was a spirit of this guy came in. He was a white dude, European dude, right? Bald head. He was heavy set, not too fat, but he was chunky and short. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, I'm getting these memories. And this is now from her ancestral line. I'm seeing some of her ancestors picking cotton. I see this cabin, all this thing. And I see the connection to this white dude, his spirit coming in the room, and I see the connection. He was a slave master during that time that was connected to her family. All right, the older lady that I'm working on, right? And I'm seeing they're showing me the memories, and I'm seeing that he he raped some of her ancestors. Also, his spirit comes in and he's asking for forgiveness. Now, what's interesting now with while this is all happening is in integration when the session was over, she said to me and Sister Riziki, she said, yeah, at one point, because she's going over her experience, what she experienced on the other side and stuff. And she was like, yeah, at one point I was asking for forgiveness. I felt like I had to ask for forgiveness for myself. And I interrupted her in that moment and I said, no, 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 no. I was like, sometimes we feel things or that we can interpret and think is coming from us. But that's not always true. In that situation, I was telling her, I was like, no, what you were experiencing wasn't so much forgiveness for yourself, but you had an ancestor that came into the room, a white ancestor. And in the case of who this ancestor was, he was a slave master that was violating your melanated family. Because that's when the tears were coming down. It's like her whole being picked it up as soon as this white dude spirit came into the room. The tears were coming down her face as soon as he came into the room. So that was that spirit, because things have to be realigned. A lot of this type of work that's being done, that even me and my good friend Sister Riziki do, and many others out there that do this type of work, is that it's the realignment of the ancestral line. It's the clearing of the ancestral line. So that conversation of ascension, that conversation of even macabre, all these rainbow body, even like I was saying earlier, that those higher sciences cannot be accomplished with the baggage. And sometimes we have ancestral baggage, DNA baggage on a personal, individual level, and then on a collective scale according to your travels with your ancestral DNA. And not all of it has to be earthbound. And we're going to go into that. So even that white ancestor knew for its own ascension and where it had to go, the energy had to be rectified, and who was asking for forgiveness. Now, I'll tell you, there was another ancestor that wasn't looking for forgiveness. And this person, this being, this white man that came through, another ancestors of hers, which she verified at the end of her integration. He was tall, not that tall, but he was, about 6 feet, probably a little over 6 feet something. Slender, red beard, red hair. The dude gave off energy of pure, he was evil. That's the only way I could say it. And what I got from the memories in that ancestral line was that he caused a lot of caused a lot of chaos within her family. And was still wreaking havoc as an ancestor, impeding on her process, in her family's process to move forward. And that particular ancestor was not asking for forgiveness at all. So her spirit team told me, decapitate him, take his head off. which I did. And normally I don't do that type of work. You understand? When it comes to the level of exorcisms, when it comes to the level of parasitic energy, just like we have as above, so below, just like you have you might have parasites in your body or whatever, and they wreaking havoc and they causing you sickness, causing you illness and disease, is the same thing as a parasitic energy, ancestor, or entity that is harvesting off of your life force energy. And we'll talk about that, especially more, the other client, in regard to the alien or extraterrestrial type of entities. And just like you might have to do a detox, you might shoot, the medicine I work for on the level of detox is combo or frog medicine. They call that the vaccination of the jungle. Very powerful medicine. You know, traditionally it would be used for malaria, for snake bites, for fevers, for issues of women with their menstrual cycle, all kinds of different things in the jungle, in Brazil, in different parts of the Amazon. Now, when you're sick, you would take whatever method that deems cool on point to you as a way to flush out your body, to flush out all the toxins, all the parasites, all those things that keep you not at your, that's preventing you of keeping you at your optimum level of health. Then that would same thing would apply to the spirit world, as above, so below. If there's a parasitic being, ancestor, or whatever plaguing you, yes, you got to go. And a lot of times when I deal with the level of exorcisms, yes, there's times where when entities are taken off, yes, I'm going to send you to the sun to be transmuted, or maybe into Mother Earth, or in rare cases where I'm transmuting the energy within my own being. Because everything at the end of the day is energy. And as we know, I know y'all heard this before, even through quantum physics, that energy never dies. It's transformed. It's never created or destroyed. It has always been. So yeah, there's times throw that entity to the sun or Ra to be transmuted. But in rare cases, do I take off the head? But in that case, they made it very clear. Decapitate him. Now, there's many masters out there, beings out there that know the true level of transmutation. I started off again with this video with the mantra by Padmasambhava, the Guru mantra, which again, he was a deep master from India that brought the science of Vajrayana and Mahayana Buddhism to Tibet. In Tibet, they had their own tradition before he came. It was called the Bong tradition, which was a very shamanic tradition. But there were local demons, or there were local lower, we could look at as certain energies that were lingering on parts of the land that was wreaking havoc. Padmasambhava had to take some of those beings out. The ones that he didn't take out submitted in certain cases and became his disciples or his guardians. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, example, Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, all right? He was the African avatar of Senegal. There's a whole city built after that brother called the city of Touba. If you look up my homeboy Sheikh Sufi from Philly, good brother. He's one of those major brothers out there that's giving the information about this lost history of Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba. And literally the cities or the superpowers that Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba had. Now, this is another picture of Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba. Not many people seen this picture of him. But let me turn it around, and I'm going to relate to, again, Transmutation. This is another picture of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. A lot of times, like if you see, a lot of times you don't see his hands on here. There's another picture of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba where you don't see his hands, or only thing you see is one foot, and the other foot is not showing up on camera. A lot of people that are high masters, the resonance of their auric field, of their energy, would be so high that they usually would not show on camera. That's why when people try to record certain rituals, certain ceremonies, the technology would go haywire. It wouldn't pick up. That's why most of the time when people even see so-called UFOs and they try to capture it, a lot of times it would not show. We're talking about resonance. All right. So it was one picture where some of his disciples said, please show up on camera. Can you please show? I know you do this thing with this energy thing. Your energy is so high that you don't even show up on the camera. But please, can you show up on the camera? You know what I mean? So people could know you really existed, bro. Because people ain't gonna believe that you existed, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. All the wild stuff that you've done. They're gonna think you some mythos or some fairy tales. Because you have to understand, they try to kill this man. The French government and various other governments tried to kill this man over 200 times. They couldn't kill him. They did all kinds of things to this dude. You do the research, you'll see. You know what I mean? Threw him out the plane, all kinds of stuff. They couldn't kill this man. Because we're talking about self-mastery at that point. All right? But it was known, it was very known with Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba that he would turn, when there would be certain jinn or certain negative entities, that he would convert to Sufism, to Islam. They would be his disciples. You know what I mean? So there's levels of transmutation. And I've witnessed that firsthand. I've experienced that firsthand. I'll never forget that there was this sister, I was in Detroit, was doing a healing with her. And it became to a level of like exorcism at that point. I remember in the spirit realm, I seen these beings, and they did not look like any animal you could think of on planet Earth. But they resembled, it's hard to explain, they resembled a dog, but just different. The head, different. But they were ferocious. And they were trying to attack me in the spirit realm. So they came at me, and something my higher self said from the deepest part of my heart chakra. And it came telepathically. Tell them I forgive you. And I'm not talking about no corny shit here. I'm not talking, I forgive you. No, I'm talking about on the scale of oneness and collective singularity. Yes. Yes, I'll tell her I'll be out there with her in 1 second, okay? Thank you. Actually, hold on. Yeah, hold on. 1 second. Yeah. Hey, what up now? Hey. Hey, wait. Hey. Hey, peace. Yo, I'm on live, but I'm gonna build with you in a second. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, you could go in the living room for 1 second. 1 second. Oh, oh yeah, come on in. Yeah. My good people just came in, but I'm on a time schedule, so I'm gonna get to this extraterrestrial thing. All right, come on in, my friend. Yes, please sit down. All right. So when we talk about transmutation and we look at it from the perspective of even me giving you the example of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, he was able to take what we considered an enemy and make him his disciples. They became his protectors. Now when these beings came to me on the other side and I'm working on his system, right? It said the telepathic messages said, say to them, I forgive you. And as soon as I said that telepathically to these beings, I'll tell you what happened. The ferocious type of, the whole energy changed with most of them. With some of them that had to dip. They went to wherever dimension or wherever they came from. They was out of there. You know what I mean? Because it's either love or hate in this game. So that level of pure love, and I'm not talking about no corny stuff, like no, knowing that everything is connected. Even the so-called demons don't know that they are a reflection of God. They're at a vibratory rate that they cannot see the singularity yet. They can't understand the connection of all things yet. All right? That's when Buddha would even say, emptiness, form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. You know? So, there's some of them that had to dip. But the ones that got hit with that ray, from that heart chakra got hit with that particular ray of energy, yes, they transformed before my inner eye. And became, and you can imagine something that's ferocious at one point, ready to come at you, wanting to rip your head off, to the point that, next moment is this loving being. And it's like if you study Tibetan Buddhism, you'll see the same thing. They all had the two sides of the coin. All right, because if you look at there's these paintings called mandalas or Tonka paintings in Tibet, and there's one Dharma protector, he looks ferocious. His name is Mahakala. All right, but the flip side of Mahakala is Chenrizi, which deals with love and compassion. So you have one side of Mahakala look like this ferocious demon looking thing, and the other side, he's this pleasant, benevolent type of thing. All right? Because everything is one, even though there's two different polarities there, there's still part of the singularity oneness or the 0 point. But if someone stays in a particular polarity, they cannot always see the wholeness of one. And this is where all the mythology stories come in, to try its best to explain these more complex realities. You know what I mean? That's where the whole concepts of the Set and the Haru, all these different things that come through, even the bird, even the animals, the totems that we use, are symbols for levels of consciousness. To see the bird's eye view, to see the whole picture. All right? So when we look at that level of transmutation, when we look at things like even Padmasambhava, for instance, comes from a place of, I'm turning this demon into my protector. It's like that movie, I forgot the name of the movie. Jordan and Peele did a movie, it was animation. Yeah, it was a different one, but it was animation of basically about this young girl who was felt responsible for her parents dying in a car accident. The guilt got to her so much that she created her own demon. All right? She created her own demon. And towards the end, or her own negative entity. And at the end, what she created, she was going to destroy, but instead of destroying, she basically integrated with herself. So it became her guardian, basically. So that animation was wow, because if you look at the science of it, it was showing that she had to finally face her greatest fear. Her greatest fear that was rooted in her guilt of thinking that she killed her parents. We're responsible for that. And from all that fear, all that energy that she was putting into fear, she created an entity for herself to plague herself. But just as she created it, she had to destroy it. She finally confronted it and says, you have no power over me. I know who I am. Basically, I'm stepping into my higher self. I know I am divine. And from that place, that you see in the animation, that demon became scared as a little baby. You know what I mean? Scared as a little, you know what I mean? Got very humbled and thought it was going to destroy her. She's like, nah, boo, come over here. I'm not going to destroy you. Now you're going to work for me. Now you're going to serve me. You become the master of your fears. You become the master of your insecurities. You become the masters of your so-called trauma. Because this is what this is about. Like elder used to tell me, like my mom used to tell me all the time, I used to tell my mom, ask my mom, what's the purpose of evil? I think I was 11 or 10 at the time. And she said, son, you would not understand the glory of God, the Most High, the All, without evil. You would not understand or have an appreciation for wisdom or beauty or compassion or any of these things if you did not understand what ugliness was. So steel sharpens steel. If you're in a place of luxury all the time, how can you grow? There's nothing to push you for change. So that's the bigger view. So when we look at demonic forces and different things, that's why we could say, okay, yeah, there's different ways to approach that. Yes, there's ways where you can banish it, send it to the sun, send it to the earth to be transmuted. Yes, there's the high science of inner transmutation. And I learned that in Mexico. And that's not for everybody. You have to really master your energy to do something like that. It's not for the beginners. And again, that's another a level of seeing that energy as your ally, coming to a place of understanding that when I was taught, there's a certain level of breathing that you have to do where you're changing the molecular structure of what you consider to be negative, and thus making it positive or neutral as a source of energy or chi for yourself. And I have experienced that. But do I do that all the time? Hell no. Because there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time where you might not have enough of energy to do an inner transmutation for yourself. You might have to throw it to the sun or bring it to the earth, or in certain cases, decapitate it, which I had to do for that particular woman's ancestor. Now, what was so interesting is that during the integration, I described the dude with the red hair and the red beard, and she was like, wow, yes, I know about that part of my family. She says that part of my family actually comes from Ireland. So everything I was seeing in her session, the spirits that came into the room, she was able to verify in her family bloodline. And lastly, like I will say, because I want to get more into the extraterrestrial thing, is lastly in her session, she turned into one of her great, 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 great aunts. And as I'm looking at her, still brown skin complexion, but she has these two long braids. She looks like a black native, a melanated native to this land. And as she's saying this, she's speaking in the native language. And my homegirl, Riziki, is saying it in the same language. And at that point, I'm getting floodgate of the memories again. And the memories again was showing the atrocities that were happening for the black natives on this land. So again, a lot of these sessions is not even just for your personal healing. A lot of these things is that you're a conduit or a vessel for that time for certain things to shift, even for the land. And that has happened in a lot of these psychic surgeries, where literally it was something to rectify what happened, the atrocities, the blood that is still lingering on that soil. Okay, so let's now go into the extraterrestrial thing real quick, because I want to build with my sister here. So the next session was with this good brother, right? When we was in North Carolina. Good peoples, really good peoples. And he wanted the psychic surgery. So me and Riziki starts his session. And as soon as we start to go into the spirit realm, um, a song, a lullaby comes through. All right, because he's not able to even take the 3 inhales of the medicine. The first one, he starts to kind of like type of, and he's drooling, and at that point I see his body trying to fight the vibration. So we lay him down, right? And at that point I see a image in the spirit world of my son. So automatically what was being communicated to me in the spirit world was he's resorting back to his infancy. He's going back to being a little boy. He needs to be nurtured. He's going back to that little part of himself. All right? Because literally he's like in a fetal position now on the mattress that we had in the living room. So the song, this ancient song that was coming through was a native song, but it was a native song that was a song to sing to the children. It was a lullaby. And I'm seeing the waves of the energy coming over him and all that, and nurturing the little boy in him. It was like father at that point. It was very much stepping into a energy of fatherly protection for him. Okay, so after that's done, next thing he knows, he goes into his like, okay, I'm a man, and now I'm stepping into my power. It was a very Herakuti energy. So it was very warrior at one point, but he didn't have the balance. It was like everything is a balance. So when you see someone that gets so high, but the energy is all over the place, but it's not rooted, or it's not coming from a place like laser like precision, that energy could be all over to the place that really at that point there's not a level of concentration. There's not a level of, in his case, really having a solid foundation for him at a later time to hold that energy, that raw energy with grace. Okay? And I'm trying to explain it the best way I can in his situation. It's like some people that say I go beyond duality, but it takes a lot for you to develop yourself to that point where you don't become attached to either polarity or even moved emotionally in any aspect. You become the divine observer. All right. So at that point, what I'm saying is that because he's talking on what if you could go in the kitchen with that, that's cool. All right. So what I'm saying is that um there was this grounding that had to happen for him at that moment, because I'm seeing the things that he needs to let go, and the challenges that he's been holding on to before he can come to that level of higher energy. All right. So at that point, Riziki is holding him like a mother. And even at that point, just putting her hand on his back and saying, okay, basically saying, okay, you could calm down now. Mother's here, da da da. He calms down. All right. So at that point, Spirit tells me, let the Divine Mother take care of him right now. So I go sit on the couch, and as she's helping him through this, I realized that now there's energy. I could see energy attachments trying to cling onto her. So again, I was like, nope, that's not going on. We about to take care of this. So I'm going in with the medicine again. And then at that point, That's when Riziki goes outside because she starts to feel the energy of this negative energy trying to parasitic energy trying to latch onto her basically, right? So at that point, mate, she goes outside and basically I see a hive, if you want to call it a nest or a hive, that was astrally in his energy body in his neck area. It was like thousands and thousands of eggs. And these eggs were associated with the insectoids. Okay, now we're going into the whole UFO thing, all right? The whole extraterrestrial thing, all right? First, we have to understand when you start to look into UFOlogy and you start, and if you're a dedicated person who wants to really study that subject matter, you will see that there's a lot of people that talk about different star seeds or different type of humanoid looking type of individuals. All right. Now, even if somebody wanted to play with the theory of evolution, then even there were certain scientists that claimed that if the dinosaurs still supposedly lived, if the dinosaurs daggone lived to the present day, they would look like more humanoid reptile human beings. That they would be upstanding, two arms, two legs, maybe a tail, whatever, but they would be having more features like a humanoid, but with reptile features. This is what modern day scientists were saying about dinosaurs, right? Now, if that's the case, if we want to look at evolution, we could look at evolution from any planet and say, oh, okay, well, these particular species on this planet, the cats eventually evolved into cat people, or the insects eventually over trillions and trillions of years developed into insect type people who are very advanced with technology or whatever. You know what I mean? Blase blah, right? But if you go into the UFOlogy type of, or UFOologists and their studies, you'll see that people who have been abductees or contactees or any ones that had some type of experience with various type of beings, there's a consistency that's going on. There's a report from many people describing the same type of beings. You have the phenomena of me talking about those blue type of beings, right? The Arcturians. And trust me, I even before I had that experience with that particular extraterrestrial, female extraterrestrial in Mount Shasta, I was painting because I do art also. I was painting blue type of beings way before that Avatar movie or any of those things. And again, they're putting even in the movies to throw it in your face again that to familiarize yourself to know that these things are real. All right. So look, there's a painting of this blue type of being. I've done that years ago. There was another painting I did of this blue goddess that I did a grip ago, almost 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So uh yeah, dinos didn't exist. I don't know if these motherfuckers existed or not. You know what I mean? All I know is what I gave that an example as a so-called example of evolution. You know what I mean? If we want to jump on that whole theory. And I'm not saying here or there, to tell you the truth. Because if I'm not experiencing it um personally, um in my life, then anything is up for grabs. Because we know history has been distorted. We know people say whatever they want to say, whatever narrative they'll tell you. You know what I mean? But one thing I can say is that I can only go off of my own personal experiences of things that I know happened to me, things that I know have happened in the spirit world, things that are consistent on that basis. Um, So again, when we deal with the ologists, we talk about contactees that dealing with blue type of people. People talk about the cat people, which I've experienced with them. Um, the reptilians, and then of course we have this phenomena of people talking about the grays, or what some from the studies, those that are from Zeta Reticula, you know what I mean, and how there's numerous type of grays. How some people they say that they're organic, biological beings, and how they say now we're dealing with a level of advanced AI. Okay, now if we look in cycles or some advanced type of robots. Some people seen them as scouts to go check out different planets and different things like that. And also we look at certain from the studies of certain grays that are malevolent and benevolent. All right. Um, but may throw this out here real quick. We understand that on this planet, if you don't know, that there's been highs and lows of technology on our planet. All right. Um, we don't even know half of, and when we talk about these different ages, my father used to always tell me, even in my early years as a child, like, yes, nature goes through cycles. There's going to be highs and lows. Um, and my father used to always tell me about Kali Yuga, that we were in the dark age, or the age where we devolved and came from a place of spiritual and high technology to a place of where we're very disconnected to ourselves and in the collective. So when we looked at buried things that a lot of people have not even discovered yet, that's right under our feet. When we look at high technology that is probably being buried away in the Vatican basement somewhere, or the Smithsonian Institute, we don't know what we're capable, or what we were capable of. We do, don't get me wrong, but the masses really don't. All right. But they're getting there. All right. I had visions of Lumeria working with particular individuals in these healings. And from those visions, when we even look at the architecture, beautiful. I mean, we're talking about buildings that look like they were made out of crystal. Okay? So we were dealing with different type of things here. All right? So if we look at, and this is where I'm going to interrupt real quick before I go back, man, because this is a lot. Larissa, excuse me, but I have to go in for a second. I'll be right with you. First, I would like to say this, and this is from Credo Mutua. I read a book by him a while ago. He's a book called Zulu Shaman, right? And he still kept the oral tradition from his people of talking about how a lot of us were star travelers. All right. And according to Credo Mutua, he said we dealt with a a war a long time ago, and that we had to flee. And during that war, we was dealing with the reptilians. This is what's coming from the elders' mouth, right? Also, one of my good friends and teachers, Baba Kalindi, he also talked about that oral tradition as well, that we at one point in time, us at least melanated black folk, were coming from the Sirius and Orion constellations, and that there was a time where we had to flee because we were dealing with a very warlike species. Sounds familiar with what's going on even on planet Earth here, where people dealing with nuclear bombs, daggone, manipulate the weather, manipulate the food, keep people sleeping, fight over natural resources, enslave people. All root chakra bullshit. Survival, me, take, all these other things. These are eras again, and even cycles where people are not connected. All right. But according to Credo Mutua, I can't see in the book right now, find it, but he quotes about the history in South Africa, the Zulus, and they were quite aware of this for the longest time, like other many cultures, indigenous cultures around the world, who said the same thing. We just dealing with a level of amnesia. We have all collectively forgotten our galactic past, our history. Some of us still remember, some of us still have it in dreams, some of us have it in spiritual awakenings, some of us have it through even personal development. And the memory comes back. You know what I mean? Even talking about it more, even like I was saying to Dr. Aline Bay, um, like, yo, even us talking about it, it triggers a level of memory for me more and more. Um, so we have to understand we have these different type of beings. Traditionally, the reptilians and the insectoids have been known to be very parasitic beings, and even some grays for the longest of time. If you're not known this and it's new to you, yeah. But those who might be listening, that's very common knowledge. All right. And the thing is this, like I tell people all the time, that doesn't mean that a species can't evolve, even spiritually. Because from my understanding, I got to download that everyone has the seed of enlightenment in them. Even you have different avatars or ascended masters that come in the shape of reptiles, reptilians, even insectoids. But that's a small few. It's like what's going on Earth here. You know, the teachings used to say the 85ers. There's 85ers throughout the cosmos. You know what I mean? And then there's 5%ers, or those who have enlightened themselves throughout the cosmos as well. I make that association with the Gleam. I love comics. Just like the late Baba Kalindi ancestor loved comic books, graphic novels. And I always looked at the Green Lanterns as a prime example of enlightened beings throughout the cosmos. And if you study that comic, that particular one, and want to get into this type of healing work along the lines of mental projection when you're dealing with a healing, this is advanced stuff for teachers later in the game, when you have developed your Danten, when you've developed your chi, when you're developing this life force and know how to interact with that, with the sacred medicine and your creative visualization. You'll understand what I'm saying and the importance of that reference to Green Lantern. All right? But if you look at Green Lantern, what they showing you, yeah, there's human avatars, cats that have developed themselves spiritually. They got ones that look like insectoids, others that look like reptilian, other ones that look like a blob thing, and all the all the different ways you can imagine various different type of beings that how they could look, you to whatever, you know what I mean. But from their species, from their planet, they have spiritually developed themselves and understood the 0 point and have overstood the daggone singularity. So we can't put even certain species all in one box, but there's only a few. Even me dealing with one healing when the daggone ancient dragons came through, and these dragons were goldish silver. They were ancient. They came out of one of my selenite swords that I use when I'm using this here, doing these healings on people sometime. And it was a goddess. She came out through and turned into the dragon and came into the woman's body and was literally healing different parts of her body, organs and different stuff like that, moving. It was, and I got the download. And the download was that when it spoke to me telepathically, and you can imagine, it's like you flying through the astral world, and I had two different dragons on each side, and they're talking to me telepathically at that point, after the whole thing went through the sister's body. And they're telling me telepathically how they were very disappointed in the reptilians. They quote unquote said that was their offspring, that was their little brother, and how their little brother went astray. You know what I mean? So you have certain beings that are naturally by nature parasitic. And we already talked about how to deal with parasitic energy and how there's different levels of transmutation, right? So when I'm dealing with homeboy and Riziki, I know I'm this It's a very long story with this healing, but I'm trying to. All what I'm saying is important. Believe it or not, you might have to go back on the video and you'll understand why I'm saying certain things. But when the homeboy, when Riziki steps outside, right, I see a whole hive in this brother's throat area, and at that point, that's when this African deity come over me, and I'm using a rattle in a certain way, and I'm dissolving all those daggone eggs, but it's thousands of them. So there's moments where I'm starting to feel my energy go down. So my higher self will say, okay, look towards the sun. I'll put my head towards the sun, look directly in the sun. The sun would energize me, send more chi into my body. Then I would go back into the zone and start going in with the rattle again, to the point that I'm literally seeing it all come out. Before that happened, I seen the presence of a reptilian, and also a gray. So they were easy to get out of him. But them insectoids, they were tricky. And after all those daggone things got out of his neck, that's when the whole room was filled with these Native American ancestors. There were darker skinned ones and lighter skinned ones, more light tanner ones. And they were all, it was all men in the room. And when it was at that point, it was like this very warrior song that was coming out of me. And at that point, I'm doing the dance right there around him. And as that song's going through, it's filling him up. Because remember when I was even saying to you about my homegirl Riziki, when we're dealing with healing, it's first cleaning out the vessel, and then there's the imprinting. So you're taking out of the trauma, taking out of all the false programs, taking out all the addictions and the attachments, and then you're imprinting the things of positivity. You're imprinting the power. You're imprinting the new memory. All right. So when I'm going in and the song's coming in, all these Native American warriors are in the room, and that energy is going into him. I go back outside and I look to tell Riziki that the session is over, and it's time for us to close the circle with prayer. You know what I mean? She's outside laying on the grass. She's like, basically, she feels the residue from the insectoids over on her. She's feeling still the negative energy on her. She was getting some of it off, but I could see she was very like out of it, tired. So I go over, I say, and I start clearing her. Again, I'm using the sun, doing the sun gazing. Look at the sun coming in, pulling the things off her, going in a certain way of breathing, pulling it out. You know what I mean? It was mostly on the crown, certain places on her body. And then after that, it was even a point where they told me to open her mouth and start from her stomach to pull it out. As I'm pulling it out, her body is reacting, shaking and things, right? Because it's real. And when it's pulled out, I could tell. And she's like, thank you, dude. She felt even at that moment, it was all cleared. We both knew it was clear. But even when we went back in, and I'm closing the ceremony, the healing, giving thanks to the four directions, the natural elements, you know what I mean? The positive ancestors, you know what I mean? Or the spirit guides, all that. Each time I would try to even say those things, the insectoids were still trying to pop into our dimension. And every time they would do that, I would have to rattle to get them ghosts. Because you're not looking at just a rattle when you're dealing with this sacred technology. These aren't just instruments. When you learn the true science of these instruments, they become interdimensional weapons. Okay? So at that moment, they still trying to get in to try to figure out how to reattach to this man, this client we working on. So it was going in. Eventually, closed the prayer. When the prayer was closed, it was sealed. You know what I mean? But I was telling him, and after the session, it was a deep integration. You know what I mean? But the main thing was like keeping your aura clean, When you have holes in your auric field, in your energy body, that's when these entities, even if you want to call them extraterrestrials that are on a negative scale, come in to your consciousness, into your auric field, into your energy field. That's why you sometimes say to yourself, man, that's not my thoughts. I don't think like that. Where's that coming from? These are parasitic energies. Just like when you have a physical parasite, you have that parasite dictating your life, dictating how you eat your food, different food. Go over there. I know you want to eat that cake over there. You're gonna eat that. I know you want to go eat that ice cream and go. You know what I mean? And you know, daggone well, it ain't healthy for you. You know, occasionally, you know, we celebrate and stuff and these things, but it's a balance to everything. But I'm talking about on a consistent level where this becomes a habit, where you're eating things or doing certain things that aren't healthy for you because you have something else that's dictating your journey at that moment. You have a parasites. And when you have even physical parasites, they up there in your brain telling you certain things to eat so they can feed off of you. That's the same thing as above, so below, my friends. You know what I mean? When you have these holes in your auric field, go get them joker parasites get in and start wreaking havoc over your life. That's why you have to cleanse. Not even on just a physical level, a mental level, and spiritual level. That's why we do the Qigong. That's why we do the Nigong. That's why we do the Bagua. That's why we do the Tan Tui. That's why we do all those things. Because these are ancient sciences to build up your energy body, to build up eventually to your Merkaba, to activate your Merkaba, your light vehicle, because that's the most organic and most powerful way to travel throughout the cosmos. Not so much with some physical ship, because like even modern day science says it will take you many light years to get from here to this neck of the woods to over that neck of woods. But like we said before, there's different ways that even different sentient beings travel throughout the cosmos. You know, some people go through wormholes, some people daggone, you know what I mean? All kinds of different things. But the most interesting of them all is using your own physical body and then turning your own physical body into a ship, into a Merkaba. You know, and that's why I was talking about even earlier with the rainbow body technique in daggone Tibet. Turning your body into light. There's over 200,000 documented cases in Tibet alone of eyewitnesses that have seen people turn their body into light. The only thing they would leave behind, little bits of fingernails, little pieces of hair, but they take their body with them. I'm out. I'm out. Bounce. Deuces. That's the most organic way to travel through the cosmos. But one cannot even imagine, you can't even fathom that type of science unless one literally does their work. You know, you have to build up your light body first. Okay? All right. I'm out. I wanted to share that. I know I was trying to dag on, I maybe might have been kind of long-winded with this, you know, with these the whole healing thing that I'm talking. And you notice when I was talking about the Merkaba light body, the daggone camera went crazy with this. But I'm out. I'm out. Y'all take care. Thank you. I know I haven't been on YouTube Live for a while, so I wanted to do something for the people out there and say thank you. I want to say thank you to my good friend Riziki. Thank you, sister, for all the great work that we do together. I have much love for you, my sister. Thank you. And thank you for all the listeners. If any of y'all want us to come to your town, if you want to be able to come to do a healing sanctuary or a retreat for you, hit me up. Let me know. I'm here. You can always reach me on Facebook as Bro Dooley or Brother Dooley, BRO Dooley DULI. Yeah, so yeah, you could hit me up, or you could always email me as well at lovemotherEarth33@gmail.com. Okay. And we'll figure out a way, you know. And I was just talking about psychic surgery, but we're offering many other services as we're developing more of these different retreats or sanctuaries that we do. So we are stay tuned to various Reiki different initiations. I'm gonna be or attunements. I've been doing Reiki almost 20 some years now, and I could, talk a lot about that whole thing. It's a beautiful a tool to have, but there's various different types of Reiki, and also you can learn how to make your own attunements, your own process of putting your own sacred symbols into your chakras and different things as well. So we will be teaching and doing classes on Qigong, Reiki very soon, even Riziki teaching the brothers and the sisters about more the in-depth levels of Tantra. And she'll tell you very quickly that Tantra is not all about sex, and that's where most people's mind go to when they hear about that subject. She'll tell you off the grip that 80% of Tantra is is non-sexual. So we're talking about a new level of intimacy with yourself, learning to really love yourself, learn how to have a very orgasmic life, because um, the level of orgasmic energy is very associated with your kundalini, very associated with you opening up your energy bodies, your meridians, your chakras. It's a very orgasmic experience. Um, so what she's teaching people how to utilize that energy and harness into that energy for health, for prosperity, for abundance, all these different things. And if you go into the mysteries of the tantric schools, these were temples that were run by the majority of women. They were celebrating the goddess energy and the ability to use that as a tool for their enlightenment, for their self-realization, for them to activate their makab. Okay, so she's going to be doing classes on that. Again, she has her book here that she wrote. I want to give her a shout out, Miss Riziki, once again. Um, this is her book, Akura Tantra, and she's giving you the her downloads of the Afro indigenous rooted wisdom. All right. So most of the times when we talk about Tantra, we usually hear about the Taoists from China, or we usually hear about India, more Hindu influenced Tantra. Sometimes you might get bits and pieces that are still lingering in Kemet or Egypt. But those are mainly in Tibet. Usually, those are the four remaining places on this earth that people have a more accessibility to the ancient science of Tantra. But but we have to understand too that we have to hear more of the science from our people, especially more Afro indigenous rooted science, because we had our own traditions as well, which is important to bring forth to the masses. All right. So thank you again. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry if it felt like I might have sideways, went this way, that way at certain points, but I knew I didn't have that much time, and I was trying to bring in a lot of different points about the spirit world, about healing, about entity removals, about stepping into your power, about really, yes, stepping into your power, you know. And like again, well, I put that picture of Sheikh Amadou Bamba on there for you, because it's important to see examples, especially examples that look like you, so you know that these things are possible. Because again, the cycle that we're in, or slowly coming out of, these changes that are happening very rapidly, we've been used to a certain type of reality. We have. We've been conditioned. We've been programmed, you know? So to break out of that level of thinking, you have to have a new, you have to first clean the slate. That's why in the dojo, they say, I don't go in the dojo with a full cup. What I think is my reality or my truth, okay, you could still hold on to it, but make room for new discoveries. You know what I mean? Because this is a big reality here, you know? And I'll be very arrogant to think that oh, I'm the master that knows everything. No, I'm learning just like you, just like everyone else. But when we share certain experiences, guess what? We could put different puzzles of the pieces, these puzzle pieces together, and have a broader view. you know? And that's why I feel it's important to share your experiences, you know, because some of us get ridiculed, some of us get ostracized, you know, especially if you're the quote unquote black sheep in your family. And it, like I said about the 17-year-old, where his mother wanted, they was thinking about committing him to the mental institution because he had memories of being on other planets. He had memories of other lifetimes. Now, if you're the only one in your family that are having this type of awakening and you have no one to talk to about that or have any reference to know what you're going through, the changes and awakening that you're going through, that shit can be scary. So that's why there's an importance of sharing. That's why there's an importance of making these connections and saying, wow, okay, I'm not the only one out there that experienced something like that. That, okay, he explained it or she explained it that way. Okay, I'm connecting the dots. I understand. I come from that particular constellation, or I had an incarnation here. No wonder that I gravitate towards this type of thing, or these certain languages or songs are coming out of me. Okay, I could see now I'm not going fucking crazy. There's something to this here. Okay? Okay. Someone says, good live. I learned from it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was big. Ants one. Thank you. If anybody has any quick questions or comments, you know, please by way. But if not, I'm out. And thank you again for listening. I appreciate it. Be easy on yourself and help others. But first, help yourself and learn how to be able to love yourself. You know what I mean? This is a story about learning to, again, to really authentically love yourself. I could say many times that there was times where I thought I knew what love was or loved myself, but was very traumatized like the next person. So there was a lot of even life experiences that I had to go through to connect my own personal dots. So I thank all my teachers that have came into my life. I thank all the significant partners in women that have come into my life to help me grow more as a man. You know what I mean? As a, and to step more into my divine being. You know, because we all have different types of trauma, and a lot of it does start as children. So I had to learn certain things, look at certain things, and be like, man, why am I gravitating towards this type of behavior, or like, why am I calling on this type of experience? You know, I had to learn to love myself more. And as I did, now guess what? I'm attracting more mature individuals in my life. I'm attracting all kinds of different teachers in my life and different things, because when you're really ready and you're working on yourself, all gates and all doors are open for you. You know? So there it is. So be easy on yourself. Learn to love yourself more. Okay? And then you'll be able to really authentically learn to love another. All right. Peace and love. Take care. How you turn this off now? Hold on. How you turn this damn thing off? Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.